of my challenge. I'm trying to reach the rating of 2000 in chess by the end of the year, and today we might cross the rating of 1200. A little spoiler, there are some really nice checkmates. Okay, first game we go with e4, controlling the center, and I play e6, which is the French defense. We go with the 2 pawns in the center of the board. That's what we do. Ooh. Okay, they are going for a very shy opening. They are not controlling, putting a pawn in the center of the board, but they are actually controlling it with the pawns. But they are just controlling half of the center. So what we do here, we just develop the knight here, and then we go with the bishop out, with the other bishop out, and then we have to decide where to castle. It will depend what our opponent is doing. What is this move? I mean, usually in the opening you should push 1, maximum 2 pawns, because you want to go out with the bishops, you know, with both bishops. But like this, pushing these pawns, I really don't understand the purpose. And especially the f pawn. Oh my gosh. Especially the f pawns. This is exactly where the knight wants to go. Here, black has still the pieces all in the starting squares. This is really not following the basic principles. I will keep going with my own plan, which is to just, you know... okay, now I'm really confused. Okay, that's interesting. What to do? We have different options. We can go with the bishop out, just ignoring whatever our opponent is doing. But seriously, I am evaluating to just sacrifice the knight here, and after pawn takes, to slide my queen there, giving a check to this king. Now the king could run. If the king would go there, I would take with the bishop and win already material, the queen. The problem is that the king has also this square, and there I'm not sure if I really have the final blow. I think the best is to just develop the pieces, because really the king has still this square to run away, so it's maybe too early to sacrifice a piece. But one day I might be ready for it. For example, now the bishop is attacking this pawn, so maybe once the king is here, I might consider sacrifice even the bishop there, and then the king is really coming to the center of the board. But I need to have a final checkmate at that point. But I could actually, okay, now I'm really threatening to take there. And after pawn takes, I go with the queen. If the king goes there, probably this check might work. If the king runs there, I'm giving checkmate like this, because this bishop is controlling the squares. Those squares are all controlled, and the queen is controlling it. So this would be checkmate. Sorry for the many arrows. I'm not Hikaru. After this, that check, the king goes there. We give a check. If they try to cover, they can cover with the queen, with the bishop, or with the knight. At that point, I think no matter what they do, I can take here with check. And then the king needs to run somewhere, maybe there. And then I can push this pawn and give mate. This looks really powerful. And let's say they take with the queen, because if they... sorry, let's do it again. Bing, it's really important to start over to have exactly the same... to have in mind the exact position of the pieces. So we take, we give a check, the king goes there, and then we go with the queen there. And now the queen covers. There is an extra square for the king here. So if I take, the king could go there. And then I have to understand, what am I going to do? And probably the move bishop takes could be an option, but after queen takes, oh, I can take there. That's so beautiful. Can you see this is checkmate? I take there and this checkmate. The king cannot go. Oh, that's so beautiful for real. And if they take with the bishop or with the knight, I simply take there, the king goes there, and this mate with a pawn. Wow, I wish this could happen. Play b5, come on, go on the other side.
2 minutes later.
They are thinking since so long time. I'm thinking, okay, they should start to develop pieces here. Maybe knight here could be a good move. Also, it's important because the knight could go there to cover up a check on h5. Oh no, guys, no, they disconnected. That's so bad. Don't do this. They didn't disconnect it, but it will auto resign in 4, 3, 2, 1. I think game abandoned. There will be. Wow. Guys, I was checking this line with the engine to see if my line was right, and I just make a waiting move, and that's absolutely lit. We sacrifice the knight, and then we slide with the queen to give a check. If the king goes here, we just win the queen here, because after knight f6, there is the tactic, bang, and now the queen behind is lost. That's why I just considered king d7. Now there is a check. And if the king goes there, is really checkmate with a pawn, which is beautiful. And if the queen covers to give this extra square to the king, that's exactly what I saw. We take here with a check, the king goes, and now we sacrifice the bishop. If they don't want to lose the queen, they have to take, and that's mate. The lesson for you is do not push all the pawns because you will be lost in a few moves. Okay, we are with the black pieces against 1d4. I like to play the move knight f6. I played it a little bit standard, but honestly, you should go with the move d4, d5. Just do what your opponent is doing. Now, I didn't play actually a good move, because usually here you don't want to take with the knight, but you want to take back with the pawn. That's now a little bit problematic, because if I take with the knight, they can go with the 2 pawns in the center. Okay, I will have to show you how to deal when your opponent has 2 strong pawns in the center. Well, you have to attack the center really quickly. Now, they are going a little bit too far, in my opinion, because now my knight gets to a very nice square, and I have a good way to develop all my pieces. Okay, they're attacking here, but I'm not worried. I will go with the bishop out. This is very smart. I would love to develop this bishop, right? But before playing the move e6 and blocking my bishop said inside the pawn chain, I'm going, ooh, that's a fork basically. They're attacking 1 and 2. But I have a good idea. I can simply play the move e6 and I'm protecting both things at the same time. That's good. If the bishop takes, attention, and I cannot take with the pawn because I would leave a bishop hanging, but I have to take with the queen. And after the queen takes, the queen is no longer attacking this, and so I can then take with the pawn. Good. The knight is now going to the side of the board, which is not really optimal. And that's what we do, guys. We attack the center. This is what you have to do if your opponent is having a strong center. You usually have to break through with side moves like c5. Now they're attacking the queen. There is an obvious move that comes to mind. It is giving this check so that I get rid of the threat with tempo. And it looks amazing. Also, another idea can be to go with the queen there because I'm attacking this pawn and this pawn at the same time. So I need to ask myself, what threat is stronger? And I think this one is stronger because a check is just a check. It's tempting, but my opponent can cover in different ways. For example, with the knight or with the bishop back, attacking my queen. I think with the knight is stronger. Ooh, okay, maybe I did a mistake. I forgot completely about this idea. I just forgot about it. Oops, I really... I blundered. Okay, well, if I take there, I lose this piece. So I could think about the in-between move to take this knight, but there is also another in-between move to take this pawn and attack the rook. I will just take here, and I'm attacking the rook. This is an in-between of the in-between move. And there is one move to protect, which is queen here. It's such a pity that my bishop couldn't go there because I would win a queen. But I could probably trade the queens and then take back this little bishop. Still, my position wouldn't be fantastic because they would have a strong knight there, which could threaten a fork here. But hey, I have to deal with the consequences of my own actions, bad actions, blunders. Queen b6 was not good. Probably I had to play just queen d7 to keep the knight protected, or queen check, but then after bishop there, yeah, then just go back. Ooh, what is this move? I believe this is bad. Cannot I simply take here and then take a rook? Or just take the rook immediately? Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, if I take here, queen takes, and I take there, then the queen is taking there. That's a little bit annoying, because this knight is protected and this rook is under attack. Well, that's not just a little bit annoying. That is really bad. So we have to be careful. I will take here, and if the bishop takes, it's the same. Oh, man. But I also have this check here that we have to consider. Oh my god, the queen is hanging. Man, what am I doing? Okay. Let's keep calm. I think I will take the rook and think after this move, because I might not take back. Because if I take back, the queen slides here and I'm in big trouble. So I might play a different move, like queen takes here. And I like this. I know that I have lost 2 pieces for a rook, which is not too good, usually. Now, the material is equal. Actually, I have an extra pawn. let's do a consideration. I have 2 pawns and a rook, and my opponent has a bishop and a knight. So they have 6 points, I have 7. Now in the middle game, usually minor pieces are stronger because they can are very active in the middle game. Sorry, I was focused. Instead, the rooks are not playing at all in the opening middle game. Usually they are very strong in the end game. Now I'm taking here, I'm giving a check, and I'm looking that, oh, I can get checkmated. I have to be really, really careful because this rook is not the only threat. Oh man, covering with the bishop was a huge mistake because this queen was threatening checkmate as long as the bishop was here, controlling all those squares. So if I take now here with the queen, that would have been mate. But covering with the bishop is not a great idea. I think now I will take with the pawn. Well, but if I take with the pawn, I'm not attacking this knight because I wanted to play this, attacking this knight. And if the rook takes, I take here with check. But there is still this check that I have to deal with. And then the king has to go up, and then the bishop takes. Then I can go up here. This is really playing with big fire. But if the bishop takes, then I take here, and I'm feeling very confident. Okay, let's go, guys. That bishop e3 was a huge mistake. Huge mistake. Okay, they're just taking the rook, but now I take here, giving a check, and the rook behind is hanging. Now, doesn't mean that I have to take there, because if I take there, I lose this, and then my king is still weak. I don't want to play this. So you know what? I will go take this pawn with a check, and then I'm going to trade the queens if needed. For example, here I can already trade the queens and get to an endgame where I have 3 extra pawns, and we definitely do it. This game was a huge chaos, but hey, we got the best out of it. We are in an endgame. I have not so active pieces. Look at those two. They need to join the game ASAP, as soon as possible. There is a knight under attack. I need to move it, and the question is where. I think here is usually more active, but I need to understand if there is any idea to place the knight there, because the knight here is protected by the king, so that's the only point. But I think I will go with the knight there, because the knight is controlling the square, is protecting the pawn, also looking to this check, and also supporting the pawns from being pushed. If I could play 2 moves, they would probably be bishop out, and not sure if castle or king there. Because in the endgame, there is such a difference. The king can no longer be checkmated, so you can join the party in the center of the board. Actually, the king becomes an important piece. There is a pawn under attack. I can defend it in different ways. One way could be to play knight there, which is actually an interesting move because I'm blocking the rook from joining the action. Also, another interesting move is pushing. I also have an in-between check, but I really like this move, really, because then the rook cannot join. Okay, I will show you, I will play this move and I will tell you why. Rooks are very strong in open file, and especially in the endgame, the rook can join the enemy field and be really annoying. Imagine a rook there. I cannot move my king up anymore. This pawn will be hanging, and if I move the king away, these pawns are also very vulnerable. So, and also there are always problem of the back rank check, and I might lose the rook. So it would be really terrible. But now I nearly blocked all the files. So the king cannot go through these lines because there are my pawns blocking. As soon as my pawns are protected, that is not going to be a problem for me. There is this bishop that is really good because it's protecting from far away. And if the rook would go here, I could push this pawn and the knight is protecting, so it's another barrier. In this case, they want to take there. I see that, but I will play just bishop here, and I'm ready to take back with the pawn. Oh, no, wait, I missed that. This knight is also attacking here. Well, never mind, it's all good. So I lost the pawn, but now I have the chance to bring all my pieces to the action, and I will just castle. You might say, hey, Alicia, you're losing another pawn. No. Because here I can pin, so that pawn was protected by not being protected, because there is this pin, and the knight cannot move because the rook behind would be hanging, and now I'm simply taking, trading the rooks, and the endgame is completely winning. This endgame would also be winning if those 3 pawns and those 3 pawns wouldn't be on the board. Because with the A pawn or the H pawn, with the pawn on the side of the board, you win if this square is the same square as the bishop. If not, it's a draw. If I would have a white bishop and those pawns would not be on the board, that would be a draw. Because the king can just go here, go do bim boom bam, bim boom bam, bim boom bam, and the only things that you can achieve is a stalemate. Okay, so here it's quite simple to win. We push this pawn so that the two friends are protecting each other, and now I have to promote a pawn. So I will go with the king, and 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 go with the king. My king is going to be a Pac-Man. Just trading, going to catch all the pawns. There we go. One is falling, the other is following. There we go. There we go. Okay, good try. Now I'm going to promote a pawn. I cannot pre-move. I have to activate them. Be careful not to stalemate, please. Always give a oh, wait. My queen was moving a little bit too fancy. Let's sacrifice the pawn. And now... Okay, it's still not so clear, not so easy. I don't have to stalemate, okay? Let's go with the bishop far away. Always make sure that the king has a square. Now I give a check in front of the king, and that's mate. The case of death. When the queen is protected, that's mate. This might already be the final game for today, as the games are intense. Maybe not, if it's very fast. The knight, oh, finally we have e4. I really hate to play against 1d4. So the knight is attacking this pawn. We have to protect it. This is one of the best reply. And they're playing the Italian game. And now I'm very happy to play this move, inviting them to play the fried lever. Wow, they don't play the fried lever. They are just protecting this pawn. You know what? Actually, at high level, the fried lever is no longer played. Because black is if black is aware, there is a way to get out of all the problems. I also have lots of videos about that. And this is actually the main line at high level, where white doesn't play the move h3, but goes with c3 and d4. Now, I could play the move h6 to avoid the bishop from getting there, because this is the idea of those moves. You want to stop the bishop from getting on g5, because that is a really annoying pin. Now, we are in the so-called gioco piano, meaning that every side is developing the pieces in a symmetrical way. This could seem boring, but it's actually a very good way to learn how to develop all the pieces, that you have to play with all of them, develop normally the knights, and then the bishops, and then the other bishop. I went with the bishop here with a very clear idea in mind. If they trade, I want to take with a pawn towards the center, because double pawns are usually a weakness, but not always. Because if you capture towards the center, actually this pawn that is right now just looking at one square where it can capture, would be looking suddenly at two squares. So usually the pawn towards the center are stronger. Also, a central pawn is controlling much more important squares than a pawn on the side of the board. Now this knight is attacking this bishop, is also attacking this knight. I will take here because in these positions that are called semi-open, meaning that the center is not completely blocked, because at any point, both players can play the move d4, or f5, or f4, or d5, and the center will be destroyed. And then all the pieces are active, and the bishops are really good in positions where there is no center. Because they go from one side to the other of the board very quickly. And when there is no center, it's quite easy to exploit this advantage of the bishops. Now, I will go with the knight towards this square. This is a very interesting idea, because the knight from there could go towards the square on f4 and attack directly the king. For example, here I can really imagine playing the move queen f6 and then knight f4. If the bishop is taking, let's go for it. If the bishop is taking, I'll take back with the queen, and I have the amazing bishop here, which is nice. The bishops can control all the squares of the chessboard. They are really strong, especially if they attack the king, for example. Also, if my queen would be here on g6, the bishop would be attacking this pawn, because the queen from g6 is pinning this pawn on g2 that cannot capture, as the king would be under check. But we are dreaming for now. Now they are attacking the center. In this situation, you have always three options: to capture, to push. Now, you don't have the option to push, but in general, those are the options that you have. And the third option is don't do anything. And usually, that's a great idea, because you want your opponent to take, and then you take back with the pawn, and each side has two pawns in the center of the board. Instead, if you take, you're giving away one pawn at the center, and you're giving them a second pawn, so they will have two central pawns, and you're left just with one, which is not too good. So you check that this pawn is well protected, and this pawn is protected once, twice, and three times. So we can just leave and go on with another idea, which is knight f4. That's beautiful. Now there are so many tactical ideas. For example, if this queen leaves, okay, we take back, that's what we wanted to do. If this queen is leaving the protection of this knight, then we can take here with check, and this pawn will be overloaded because this pawn is protecting at the same time this pawn and this knight. And so let's say the queen goes here, which is a natural move, or here, because you want to maybe bring the rook to the open file, to the open files. We are going to take there. Okay, you're giving away the the bishop, which is also a good idea for us. Now we take back with the queen, and we have got the bishop pair. Now the ideas before that this pawn might be overloaded is still there, because if the queen moves, for example, on c2, now there is also this pawn hanging, so attention, you can just snap this pawn. Yeah, queen e2 is much better because you are protecting this pawn, protecting the knight, everything is under control. Now I could play a really fun move, which is queen g3. Because this pawn is pinned, and I'm threatening to take this pawn because this pawn becomes also pinned. But after this, my opponent can simply move the king away, and then I have to move my queen. So it's just a trick. And sometimes tricks might work, especially when you start playing chess, or in the cases your opponent is not too experienced. But if not, then you have to play good moves. And the best moves are the moves that are good, but still posing a threat to your opponent. Now I will play bishop d7. You might say, okay, you're simply developing the bishop. No, I have a plan in mind. I want to go with the bishop here and increase the pressure on this pawn that is now attacked a second time. They play bishop there, which is a very good move, and they are protecting the bishop again. Now, I could trade the bishops. Honestly, I don't want to, but I'm not sure if I have another option. Because if I go with the bishop back, then they are going to take there. So I have to give away my bishop here and trade. My opponent is really playing a good game. Now they're also attacking this pawn a second time, and it's just protected once by the queen. So I will play rook here, protecting this pawn a second time. And then I can still go on with moves like c6, rook here. Maybe I can bring the rook towards the side to attack the king, or maybe challenging my opponent on the open file. So play something like rook d8. Now the queen is going towards, I don't know. Okay, they want to play maybe rook d7. Fine. I don't mind. It's not really a threat that is scaring me. So I will just keep going with my plan. I'm activating the rook. This is a very nice technique, remember that. It's called rook lift. When you lift the rook in order to go on the side then and be very aggressive. I think we can play this. We have, of course, to check many things. For example, that rook here is not working, because after this, rook takes, we have this square. And this pawn is protected by the queen, which is still very important. The queen doesn't have a way to move on, because all those squares are not... the queen cannot move on. So the queen, in order to approach the king, has to go like this, and then like this, and then like this, and try to give mate like this. But this is a very long path, so we can play this move, and now we are threatening something very concrete. We are threatening to take this knight and then to give mate. 2 moves. If they play this, we can take, the rook takes. Okay, great, we have it. So we go here with the king, and now in order to approach, I was imagining a queen here would be checkmate, right? So we have to still be a little bit careful. But in order to approach, the queen cannot go in those squares. And so the queen has to go bing, bong, bang. And then the queen is threatening mate. But in the meantime, we can go take this knight, and then take this pawn, and it's already mate. Oh, no way. They're protecting the square, but they forgot about the knight, and now can just be captured because this pawn is pinned. This is a very typical idea. Now they are pushing, and now you will see another pin, because we take here with the rook. This pawn is pinned because there is a bishop there that cannot be captured. There is just one square. Okay, there was just one square where the king could go and was here. But I think I would have played bishop takes, and then a checkmate with a bishop on g1 was incoming. I see that the evaluation bar says mate in 4, so I want to try to find it. The king goes there. What is the mate?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh yeah, it's what I was thinking. So it's bishop takes, and then let's say white makes any move, rook there. Now bishop there, because we can sacrifice the bishop and then give mate with the rook. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If yes, remember to like and subscribe. We already got to a rating of 1200, but now the rating will start to increase much slower. So it's going to be still a very long path. Thank you so much for following my journey. Check out day 2 if you missed out. And if not, see you tomorrow. Ciao!